Should you be the first to speak in meetings? So I came across this article on Forbes, and honestly, I am rarely ever the first to speak in meetings. I like to listen, digest what other people's thoughts, unless I'm presenting something, right? Unless I'm sharing an idea, that's something different. But usually I'm listening, I'm analyzing, I'm thinking to see, does this make sense? You can definitely see my facial expressions when I'm thinking. I'm like, how does that sound? I'm like, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely am a facial expression person when people are talking. Sorry if I ever made a facial expression while you were talking, but it's just me thinking. It is just me processing in real time. That's my quantum computer mind that is, or not, that is processing in real time, right? So we are going to jump into this article, which is it's asking the question: if you want to have more influence, what the science says. Okay, so let's jump into it. It says, so this article brought to us by Forbes by Mark Murphy, a senior contributor at Forbes, says, want more influence? The science, follow the science, says you need to speak first in meetings. I've also seen some articles that say that you should not speak first. So let's see what's going on. It says every professional knows the frustration of having great ideas that somehow don't stick. You share smart points, but by the time you speak up, the decision already feels made. Here's the secret few people talk about: the first person to speak in a meeting often shapes the entire outcome. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, because I've seen people bring up ideas and it's debated and discussed, and it's like it's the literal battle for an idea where people are sharing. Well, what about this? What about that? Oh, I didn't really think about that. I didn't consider that. Oh, this it won't work because of this. Oh, it would work because of that. Maybe it's a tech thing. Maybe it is a tech thing. And then they also have, like, where, especially in tech, where you'll do a design review where you just have a document and people are giving all their inputs and thoughts about it. Why this is good, why this is not good. I like this, I like that. I would use this technology instead. So let's see. It says that's not ego or seniority. It's neuroscience and social psychology. The order in which voices enter the room determines whose idea anchor the conversation and whose gets lost in the shuffle. If you understand how that works, you can turn every meeting into an opportunity to lead, even if you don't have the biggest title. I don't know. Maybe it's a non-tech thing they're talking about, but I think that people in tech, QA, software engineers, DevOps, cybersecurity, they are all listening from a particular perspective, and they won't back down of their thoughts or opinions just because someone threw something out there. And I've seen too where you might get pushback from a particular person at first, but then they come around and they're like, actually no, and they're like, so they'll say the pushback first, and then later on they're like, but if we did do this, then these are the benefits as well. I really think that it's about processing what's being said. Right? It says the power of going first. In leadership IQ's team effectiveness and frustration study, only 36% of employees said conflict in their teams is resolved productively, and just 18% feel completely safe voicing an unpopular opinion. Most people are waiting to see which way the room leans before they speak. That hesitation is your opportunity. When you speak first, you establish the frame, you define what normal sounds like. Others instinctively start responding to your idea. Whether they're agreeing, refining, or debating it, it's still on your team, on your terms. That part, that is fair. That is fair. I would also say, even if you're not the person to speak first, and you have an idea, you should still share your idea, because sometimes you can, when you share more ideas, you can start seeing, are there opportunities to combine to say, all right, maybe in the first idea, this part doesn't work and that part doesn't work, but this part works. And in the other person's idea, this part doesn't work. What we're doing, the idea from part one does cover this one in a better way. So I really do think it's about collaboration as well. And I think it takes which maybe most people, most teams are not that strong, but I think it takes a strong team not to just go with that herd mentality, herd thinking. Um, and another way that I would, because I don't like, even if this is probably true for most cases, but I don't like it because I don't want the first person to speak is the idea that we're all going to be clinging to. I would rather, what I'd rather, if the idea is shared in the beginning, like before we ever meet, and now we are starting to brainstorm. So like let's say bring your own ideas, right? If you have an idea, bring your own ideas to the meeting. And before we even go down the rabbit hole of agreeing, refining, or debating someone's particular idea, let's list all the ideas. And then we can actually go and start agreeing, refining, debating a multitude of ideas, voting on them and stuff like that, instead of oh, the first person to speak is the one that we're going to go with, right? I can understand how it does happen though. It's called the herding effect, and it's one of the most under-recognized levers or influence in modern organizations. It says in one study, researchers analyzed more than 400,000 Wikipedia debates about whether newly created articles should be kept or deleted, and they discovered something remarkable. When the very first vote in the discussion was to keep an article, the odds of the final decision also being keep jumped by more than 40% percentage points. When the first vote was to delete, the likelihood of deletion increased by about 20 points. That simple sequence of who speaks or votes first created a gravitational pull that shaped every discussion that followed. It's a striking example of how easily group opinions can cascade from a single opening voice. I'll say this too, though. I think that the quote unquote herd idea, herd mentality is more likely to creep up when it's something that's not that important. It's a decision that's not like, who cares, right? So like, let's just go with what Samantha suggests, with what Susan suggests. We can agree, debate, refine that because it's not that big of a deal. But if it's a major decision, I want pushback. I want pushback. That's how I see it. Let's see. All right, where were we? All right, when the first vote was to delete, I already read that. That simple sequence, I read that. It's a striking example of how easily group opinions can. All right, we read that. So this, whoever goes first, whether the CEO or the most confident mid-level manager creates the gravitational pull that the rest of the team orbits around, the discussion doesn't begin from neutral ground. It begins from wherever the first voice plants the flag. Done poorly, it's manipulation. Done well, it's leadership. I don't know. Like, I see it. I don't. Maybe I just don't like it. Maybe I just don't like it. But I do understand it. Why the first voice? Why the first voice matters more than the loudest one? Humans are wired for harmony. Once an opinion is on the table, we subconsciously adjust toward it. So in meetings, if you're thoughtful and well prepared, speaking first allows you to set the mental GPS for everyone else. You're not shouting to be heard, you're providing clarity before the noise begins. So, and whenever somebody says, all right, I don't like the terminology, I'm just playing devil's advocate, because that assumes or presumes that what you're saying, what you're like, your pushback, the other side of what you're talking about, of the person's idea, is either bad or wrong, although it's a different perspective. I think that it is good to be unagreeable when necessary and in a polite and respectful way. But do not have yes men or yes women. One of the things that I love about tech and I love about like GitHub pull requests is you're asking for feedback on your code. And I love when I see people are giving feedback on better ways to do things. Oh, like this would be more efficient, more optimal if you did this. In our vibe coding show yesterday, when Junior's like, oh, what do you think about if you were to add this feature to the content creation assistant where you could do this and that. And what I love the most about when we do our vibe coding shows, and I'm showing off the different apps that we're building and making it available for people, and it's like as I'm working through, I'm like, oh, you know what? This like I made a full list of improvements yesterday as we were going through the apps and talking about them and sharing them. But I if but I think it's good though to have pushback, to be quote unquote disagreeable for a I think through disagreements, that's where you get the best results because you're pushing people, you're fighting them so that they can do more, do better. I mean, sports is a disagreeable thing. Imagine if both teams were like besties and they just lived in harmony. It would be a boring game, right? So I think it's good to be disagreeable to get that pushback because it forces your brain to think harder, to think more. All right. So it says, but there's a catch. Going first works only if you've built credibility and use your influence to advance the team, not just for yourself. Bruh. Now we're getting somewhere. The shoe drops. The other shoe drops, all right? When people see you anchoring conversations around insights, evidence, and purpose, they'll start looking to you for direction even when you're not officially leading. The inverse is also true. If the first voice in the room is reactive, self-interested, or poorly informed, the herd will still follow. It will just be down the wrong path. See, and I think we need protection around that. And I'll say this too, right? If the first voice in the room is just reactive, just self-interested, and just poorly informed, they should not be in the room as well, right? Why are they in the room then, if that's the case? They shouldn't be there, right? Am I wrong on that? If they're reactive, if they're self-interested, if they're poorly informed, why the hell are they there in the first place? Right? That's why the best leaders use the herding effect intentionally and ethically. They think strategically about who should go first depending on the decision being made, which you can say, oh, what do you think, so-and-so? Based on what we're talking about and a decision. Every team has 5 distinct roles. Most people assume effective teams are built around personalities or job titles, but data from the test, what type of team player are you? I want to take that test. Let me see if I can take that test. A new tab. Right. We'll see if we can take that test after we're done. Shows that the most successful group balance 5 distinct roles. Each brings a different kind of intelligence to the table. Directors are decisive drivers. They thrive on clarity, competition, and results, keeping the team focused on goals and accountability. Achievers are execution masters. They care deeply about the excellence, precision, and follow through, turning plans into tangible results. Stabilizers are the process guardians. They bring structure, consistency, and risk management, ensuring that ambitious ideas actually work in the real world. Harmonizers are relational glue. They sense tension early, resolve conflict, and protect the trust and morale that holds the team together. Trailblazers are innovators. They push boundaries, ask provocative questions, and inspire creative leaps, and the rest of the team might never consider. So if I had to choose one of these, or I'd have to branch them together. I would probably say between achiever, stabilizer, and trailblazer. Maybe more on the trailblazers. I would say between stabilizer and trailblazer. I am a stabilizing trailblazer. How about that? Stabilizing trailblazer or I have a lot of achiever in me, but I can definitely see a stabilizing trailblazer. But we'll take the test, right? Each of these roles bring essential strengths. When teams recognize who embodies which role, they can tap into their full potential. It says, you know what? Right. How the herding effect interacts with team roles. Depending on what kind of conversation your team is having, the person who speaks first should change. The herding effect is powerful, but it's even more powerful when you align it with the right role. So they have this little diagram here. Who should speak first? Go first and set the direction and focus. The director makes tough decisions and guides the team direction even when unpopular. The trailblazer brings innovation. All right, we read that. We read all these already. Go first. So go first to spark innovation for the trailblazer. I've done this before. The harmonizer, go first to build trust and ease tension. I don't really do that. I will do it if it's necessary. I can fill that role, but that's not my main goal or thing that I'm thinking about. Achiever, go first to raise standards and precision. I think as part of quality, you have a lot of achiever in you. Go first and steady the process and manage risk. For quality, these two are applicable. This one is more of a mindset thing and not for the role that I actually like my actual position at work, but it's just a mindset of being innovative, trying out new things, looking for solutions, right? It says if you need bold new ideas or innovation, start with the trailblazer. Trailblazers challenge assumptions and open up mental doors that others didn't know existed. When a trailblazer speaks first, they expand the possible and make it psychologically safe for others to think bigger. If your team needs focus, prioritization, and clear path forward, your director should go first. Directors bring confidence and urgency, transforming ambiguity into movement, but they should lead only when the team risks drifting or over debating because their authority can unintentionally shut down creative thinking. When goal is precision, quality, or technical execution, let an achiever open up the conversation. Their analytical mindset pulls everyone towards rigor and results. The herd starts thinking about data, metrics, and craftsmanship. I see that in me too. For decisions about risk systems or process improvement, start with your stabilizer. They bring calm, structured logic. Their measured tone prevents rash decisions and ensures every bold idea gets a reality check before action. It says, and when the stakes are human, such as change management, culture shifts, or emotionally charged projects, you have your harmonizer speak first. All right, I'm gonna I can be a harmonizer, but that's not me. I be about business. And Scrum Masters make excellent harmonizers. They bring empathy to the forefront. That's a tough one right there. Reminding the team that behind every chart and metric are people. When a harmonizer leads, the group orients around understanding rather than defensiveness. And that's one thing that my team at work we really try to put forward is understanding rather than defensiveness. Each opening creates a very different gravitational pull. The question isn't who has seniority, it's whose role best fits the problem the team is solving right now. And I'll say this, right? Based on your strong suit, you should be the one to introduce a topic and present it and share the idea for that particular topic. Using the herding effect ethically. Keyword is ethically. The herding effect isn't about manipulating others. It's about designing conversation that starts in the right place. If you're brainstorming a new product, have your trailblazer go first to spark energy and stretch boundaries. When it's time to turn ideas into execution, pass the baton to your achiever or stabilizer. If you're tackling an emotionally charged decision, let your harmonizer open up and then follow with your director to establish direction and close loops. This sequencing, who speaks first and when, can determine whether your meeting feels like an argument or a collaboration. Great teams don't just talk, they choreograph like a Beyonce music video, right? When silence becomes the strongest voice. The herding effect can work against you if the wrong person goes first or if everyone hesitates too long. When a scene, whenever someone asks a question and nobody answers, I get I'm like, all right, I guess I should answer because I'm like, what do you do, right? That says, when a senior leader opens with a strong opinion before others have thought independently, the rest of the group often defaults to agreement. Oh, I will give pushback on that because maybe it's me because I work with really talented and strong people. So if there is something that it doesn't matter who is saying it, because everyone is super smart and talented. If they disagree, they will say, I don't think this is a good idea, and they'll say why, and they have no problem saying why, and I think that is great. Like I said, it is good to be disagreeable in an agreeable way, right? Says when what looks like alignment can actually be quiet compliance. That's why high performing teams sometimes pre-sequence their discussions. They decide in advance who should open based on the type of challenge. Some even rotate that first voice weekly, letting different roles shape the opening frame depending on what the team most needs. A director might start 1 week strategic session. The next week, a harmonizer could open up a conversation about employee morale. The rotation keeps the team cognitively diverse and keeps the herding effect working for them, not against them. Now, the hidden lesson. What is the hidden lesson behind all this, right? Influence. Influence isn't just about authority. It's about timing and sequence. Every meeting has a psychological architecture. That is true. That is true. And then it's like, if someone doesn't want to be at a meeting, it makes the meeting tough to go through, because it's like you don't want to participate and we need participation, right? And whoever lays the first brick determines the shape of what follows. The herding effect will always exist. You can't eliminate it, but you can harness it. When you understand your team's role and intentionally choose who goes first, you transform meeting from passive discussion into active instruments of direction. So the next time you walk into a meeting and wonder how to make your voice heard, remember, leadership often begins with not with volume, but with timing. All right. So shout out to Mark Murphy. Amazing article. I think I understand. I've seen a little bit differently in my career, but I'll say this too, though. At different stages of my career, I could see how the herding effect was in full effect. And here's what they'll do too. Because he's talking about, it could be manipulation, it could be leadership. Here's what the manipulation will happen too. So some people will build this whole thingy, right? Which totally goes away from the direction, the vision, the plan, the structure of the team, and they will go through back channels. And if you ever seen Mad TV Stewart, where he's like, look what I can do. So they'll go to the powers that be and say, oh, I created this. And they will sell the dream. And now when they go to present it, they already have the backing of poor leadership. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, it does this. So now when you have the stabilizer start to question, like, okay, well, what about this? What about that? Now you have that person and leadership fighting against the stabilizer, and the stabilizer is like, you know what? Do I have that? Oh, I don't have that soundbite yet. But the leadership is fighting, and the person is fighting against the stabilizer, and you're like, you know what? Forget it. Do whatever you, as T.I. said, you can have whatever you like. I'm not doing it. I'm not wasting my time with this. That happens as well. I think that is the bigger thing that happens than what about the speaking first thing. It's more about when they go through back channels to force a bad idea on an entire team, and you have weak leadership forcing that whole change and shift in direction and narrative and purpose. That's the bigger challenge in my eyes. That is the bigger challenge in my eyes.
I've never been afraid to walk away. Left the shadows in yesterday. They thought they owned the lock and key, but I'm the storm they didn't see. They whispered out behind my back, thought my strength was what I'd lack, but I've turned scars into a flame. Their doubts just fuel my untamed. Walked away with my head held high, left their chains beneath the sky. They thought I'd crumble, thought I'd fall, but I'm the one who breaks the wall. I've never been afraid to let it all go. They thought they held the strings of my show, bound by their words, but they don't know. I'm the storm, I'm the fire, I'm the glow. They thought my roots would never They thought my song would fade away, but I'm the voice they can't betray.
I've left behind the chains they made. Their whispers tried to make me afraid, but I don't bow, I don't obey. I walk my path, I find my way.
With my head held high, left their chains beneath the sky. They thought I'd crumble